at the beginning you pay. In this case, there is a cash outflow from you, and then you receive the cash inflow, the coupon or the interest payment, plus the principal and the maturity. Yield. We talk a bit more next lecture, but just give you some two main definition of the yield. Term yield normally means return. We use this term yield, especially for the debt security, right? There are two main type of the yield definition: current yield and the yield to maturity. Okay, the current yield is measured as the annual coupon payment divided by the bond price. Okay, you sum the coupon payment that you receive for each year, and then you divide by the bond price. This is the current yield. And for the yield to maturity, the yield to maturity is the return average per year. Okay, the percentage yield per year that you receive is actually equivalent to the IRR. Basically, is equivalent to the IRR. In order to estimate the yield to maturity, okay, you need to assume that you will hold the bond until maturity. So basically, based on this cash flow, the discount rate that satisfies this equation, okay, the discount rate that satisfies the cash outflow, the price that you pay, and then you discount by the yield to maturity, okay, of this cash inflow. If it satisfies, I mean, the cash inflow, present value of the cash inflow, discounted by this discount rate, equal to the cash outflow. This is the yield to maturity. Okay. However, for the yield to the current yield is not. We don't need to do this. We just simply combine the coupon payment per year divided by the price. That's all. These two yields may be the same or can be different. Okay. We talk about this next week. But in general, when the price is equal to par, the current yield and the yield to maturity will be the same. However, if the bond price is not equal to the par, suppose you buy the bond at the secondary market, then current yield may not necessarily equal to the yield to maturity. Bond indenture. Okay, this is the more detail about this bond. Basically, it's just the legal statement provide more detail about this bond. Okay, who issue the bond? Okay, and the legal form of this issuer, whether they are the corporation, they are the government, or what else. Source of the repayment, how the bond issuer can pay back the principal or the coupon. Is there any asset or collateral backing this bond issue? For example, some bond may have some land as a collateral for this bond, or some bond may have the stock for as a collateral for this bond. Okay, so this you have to read in detail in this bond indenture, so that you know whether this bond have the asset or collateral backing this bond or not. Credit enhancement. Okay, some bond may have some credit enhancement. This is quite, we can classify into sub-type: internal credit enhancement and external one. Internal, basically, we look at whether this bond is the senior or non-senior bond. Okay, the senior bond means among the bondholder you have the first priority. If the non-senior, you have lower priority to receive the cash flow in case of the default. Okay, external enhancement. Okay, external credit enhancement. Some bond may have the bank guarantee. This would help, provide or reduce the default risk of the bond. You know the term default risk or credit risk, right? the possibility that the bond may not be able to pay back the interest or pay back the principal, the par value, the face value. Covenant, some more obligation that bond issuer may need to comply for the bondholder, or some right for the bondholder. Okay, we talk about this a bit more in detail. Okay, normally for the bond, by law, there might be the third party called trustee. Okay, this trustee basically act as the to protect the benefit of the bondholder in order to make sure that issuer comply or follow anything that they promise or as stated in the bond indenture. Okay, so trustee is just another financial company would help, okay, to protect the benefit of the bondholder. Covenants, as I mentioned, okay, a covenant can be the obligation for the bond issuer. Okay, this is called negative covenants. Okay, one common negative covenant that you may have seen or may have heard basically is may provide some obligation for the firm not allowed to do something, like the firm cannot borrow more debt to some certain period. For example, they may set in the covenant that the firm or the bond issuer cannot have the DE ratio, the debt equity ratio, greater than some certain level. This is one common type of the covenant, negative covenant. Okay, the affirmative covenant or the positive, this is just the provide the action that the bond issuer must comply. Okay, as administrative in nature means that they by as an issuer they have to pay back the interest and the principal. Okay, and also this is very simple covenant that normally the bond issuer must comply or must follow. Firm cannot pay the dividend or pay any interest or pay any return to the shareholder as long as the bondholder already certify first, right? Or restriction on the investor. This is dependent on the bond. Okay. Here just provide some figure about based on the resident of the issuer. You can see that the biggest market is in the US, right? Followed by Japan, yeah, and so on. Principal repayment, the most common type of the principal payment would be the first one, right? Bullet payment, as we have seen that normally for, I think 99% in Thailand, right? They pay bullet payment, one time principal repayment at the maturity. Okay, this is quite common one. But for the fully amortized, to be honest, I haven't seen this. The fully amortized payment. What does it mean? This is similar to the you pay back the home loan. Okay, firm, the issuer, bond issuer, pay back the bondholder, the same amount every month or every year until maturity. So eventually, basically, the principal or the loan outstanding will be decreased over time. Unlike the first one, bullet payment, right? Bond issuer just pay the interest and the principal just one time at the maturity. But for the fully amortized, bond issuer pay the same amount every year or every 6 months. This amount of the money partly is interest, the rest is pay back the principal. So the 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 loan outstanding of the bond issuing this will be reduced over time, right? Or it can be partial amortized too, or balloon payment means that the size of the payment increase over time, the balloon payment. For the fully amortized means pay the same amount every month or every year. Okay, let's see the next slide. As you can see that this is the most common one, right? You buy the bond at the primary market, you pay at the par value 1,000. And then every year you get the interest or the coupon payment. This is a coupon payment or interest payment that you receive every year. Until maturity, you get the interest plus the principal 1,000. So in total you receive 1,060 for the last year 50. So this is a bullet payment. You get principal one time at the maturity. However, for the second, this is just similar to the loan payment, the home loan payment, that bond issuer pay the same every year like this. So part of the money here actually is the interest, the rest pay the principal, right? So in order to estimate this, so you can use the annuity problem, okay, formula, or you can use the financial calculator. So for the PMT, the annuity, right? I'm not sure whether I have. Okay, forgot to take a bit. You can use the financial calculator app, or you can use the scientific calculator to solve this, right? If you use the annuity formula, present value, right, of the ordinary annuity is equal to the PMT over I 1 minus 1 over 1 plus I take to the power of n, right? So you pay 1,000 today, and then bond issuer pay you back PMT. If you receive the interest every year equal to 6%, right? The coupon rate is 60 over 1,000, so the coupon rate is 6%. Five-year, right? So for PMT, you should get, the amount equal to the panel B, right? To two, 37.4, okay? You should get this number. Right? Basically, for the second type, you pay today 1,000, right? And then every year, until year 5, you get the same amount, equal to 3237.4. I is equal to 6%. How do we know that the interest or the discount rate is 6%? You can look at the first panel, right? the bullet bond, you get coupon payment 60 from the 1,000 investment, so the coupon rate is 6%. And because the price of the bond equal to the par, so this is equal to the yield to maturity or discount rate too. Okay, so 6%, you get this amount. If you use a financial calculator, you can use a financial calculator too. Right? Present value. Payment is the unknown, right? Future value is 0. Annual rate is 6%. Payment is period is 5. Compounding is annually. And then solve for PMT. Right? We get the same. You are not allowed to use this for quiz and for exam. But in the class, okay. I would recommend you to use a financial calculator if you have. However, this is a quick check. Okay, if you use app, it's quite convenient for a quick check for simple calculation like this. Okay, from the formula you're supposed to get the same. All right, the third one is the combination between the amortized partly and also balloon. The third one here is assume that okay, pay 200 more at the year 5. Okay, for the last one here is assume that okay, pay more 200 in year 5. So in order to calculate the annuity, okay, so you have to separate the cash flow for year 5 like this. You pay today 1,000, right? And then you get 201. For year 5, you decompose into 2 components, the annuity plus the 2 more balloon payment, the balloon payment, and I also 6%. Okay, so basically, how to solve this 201.92? You know that okay, at the end of year 5, you pay 2 more. So actually, for this for this question, payment is unknown, right? Future value here, I set this equal to 200. The balloon, the extra cash flow that will be paid at the maturity, right? Okay. It's gonna be the question gonna be like this. Let me check this is correct. Oh, not correct. It should be 1,000, sorry. Already correct, 1,000. So what does it mean? Okay, the bond issuer borrow 1,000 today. And then they pay the bond holder every year to 101.92. So at the end of year 5, the loan outstanding would be 200, and then they pay 200 more at year 5. Look at these tables, you cannot see this. Oh, you can see. At the end of year 4, right, the loan outstanding is 379.17. Okay, and then at the end of year 5, the the firm pay 401.92, but actually you can decompose into two components. Okay, 200 more balloon and 201.92. Okay, the 201.92 pay as the interest equal to this, and the rest, how much? 201.92. $201.92 minus this interest 22.75, so it's equal to $201.92 minus the interest to 2.75, so 179.17, right? So you minus this 179.17, so it's equal to 200, right? And then you pay more, 200, then the loan outstanding is equal to 0. You understand, right? At the end of year 4, you have this loan outstanding. You pay this, but I decompose this into two amounts. The first is 201 pay as an interest, so the rest 179 pay the loan. So after pay back the loan at 179, so you have the loan outstanding equal to 200, and then you pay extra 2 more 100 extra, then loan outstanding equal to 0. So this is depend on how we design the payment. Okay, this depend on our design. And as mentioned, normally the first one, yes.
So for the partial amortization, they don't have a set formula, or it's something that corporate that they decide?
No, it's very straightforward, because if these two bonds, the first and the second, have the same coupon rate, the discount rate 6%, right? And as we discussed that, for the second one, we use a fully amortized loan. So we can solve for this PMT this, because you know that this is 6%, and the issuer just borrow this 1,000, so this amount can be solved. Right?
How about the partial one? Is there a formula for it?
This one,
Yeah.
the formula is depends on the last balloon payment, right? It depends on how much for the last balloon payment. Then you deduct this, and then you use the same formula like the second one.
Okay. So you decide the last balloon payment first.
Yes.
And
Then you can estimate the PMT for the rest. Okay? So basically the question is how we can solve for this, the PMT, this one. We have to decide amount of the balloon payment for the last year first, and then you can solve for this one. Okay. But for the formula, I'm not sure whether if we put let's try. I think it should be okay. Okay. Suppose we change this to be 800, right? And this equal to 0. Okay? Not the same.
maybe the period needs to change the term.
Sorry?
What about if we change the period?
The period is already 5, right? It's already correct 5. So we still cannot use formula if we plug in this 800 and solve for PMT. Do not get the same one. Let me think about whether we can come up with a formula for this one. I'll do my homework about this, whether we can use the closed form formula for this one. Okay, the sinking fund requirement, okay. This is maybe another indenture in the bond too. What is the sinking fund in the past, okay, in the past? The sinking fund requirement means that the bond issuer must set aside the money, okay, in another account, not involved to the business account. This money is set aside in order to make sure that at the maturity, firm or the bond issuer have enough money to pay back the loan, pay back the principal, the bondholder. As you can see that most of the bond pay as the first type, the bullet payment. So it will take maybe 5 years, 10 years at maturity, then the bond have to pay. So if the firm doesn't have the discipline, okay, they at the maturity they may not have enough money to pay back the loan or pay back the principal. So in this case, okay, to protect the risk for the bondholder, they may set, this feature, this statement in the bond indenture that firm or the bond issuer must set aside or, conserve the money, reserve the money in another separated account, okay, and every year just put more money, just like you pay back the loan, but the bond issuer doesn't pay to the bondholder, but just get this money, reserve this money to make sure that at the end, at the maturity, bond issuer have enough money to pay back the bondholder. Okay, so basically just like you try to keep some part of the money, okay, into the separated account to make sure that at maturity the bondholder, the bondholder have enough money to pay back the bondholder. Okay, for example, 5%, it means that okay, every year you have to reserve the money equal to this amount every year. However, right now, in order to do the sinking fund requirement, they did not use that way. Okay, firm does not set aside the money, but they just call the bond. Okay, and actually I don't want to use the term call because sometimes it's quite get confused with the call option. Basically, they will the bond would be buy back from the bond holder every year. Okay, simply basically just like they pay back the loan every year. For example, like this, you can see that at the beginning, suppose the size of the bond issue is equal to 200 million. Okay, if the bond there is no sinking fund requirement, basically you just wait until the maturity and then bondholder receive the principal. However, for this one, there is the sinking fund requirement. So, and the sinking fund requirement said that, okay, every year the bond issuer must buy back the bond, okay, equal to 5% of the outstanding, principal outstanding, okay. However, this may be done after year 9, okay. So you can see that for the first 9 years, bondholder just received the interest, the coupon. However, for year 10, start from year 10, you can see that some bond will be buyback from the issuer. Okay, some bond will be buyback from the issuer. So it means that number of bond outstanding would reduce over time until maturity. So at year 10, you can see that 5% of the issue size, 200 million, so it's equal to 10 million, will be buyback from the issuer, from the bond issuer. Okay, so at the end of year 10, number of units of the bond will decrease. Size of the bond, the bond outstanding would be 190, and then decrease every year 10% of this amount, 9.5, okay, and so on. Okay, the way how to buy back the bond, there is 2 options. I will talk about this in the next slide. Okay, how to buy back this bond from the bondholder. Okay, 10% of the beginning outstanding, and then the rest for year 20. Okay, so you can see this is quite similar to the bank loan, right? That you have to pay back every year, the principal every year to the bank. It's quite similar, right? That you have to buy back some bonds. So basically, the loan outstanding decrease over time. Is it good for the investor? Is it good for the bondholder to have this requirement? What do you think? Good or not good? That's why I have to use Mentimeter, right? When I ask you straight away like this, no one wants to answer my question. Okay, the answer is can be good or bad. Actually, you know, the purpose of this requirement is the good thing for the investor. The reason why they have to put this because they are not quite sure with the issuer whether they maybe based on the history, this company may don't have the discipline of using the money. So okay, in order to make sure that they will carefully use the money to operate the business. The financial advisor or the major the institutional investor may ask to put this statement in the bond indenture. However, also there might be the disadvantage for the bondholder as well, especially when the market interest rate increase or decrease. When the market interest rate decrease, okay, why decrease? Because normally when they buy back, they can buy back at some certain price, not move to the market, price. So they can buy back at the. So based on what we just discussed, right, market interest rate decrease, bond price should increase, right? However, does not comply with this one. Apply with this one because they can buy back at some certain price. Does not reflect the market price. So why is the disadvantage of the bondholder? Because when you get the money back, you have to reinvest in a new bond. New bond pay lower. Okay, that's maybe not a good thing for the investor. Okay, if that occurs during the market decline, market interest rate decline. Okay, how to buy back the bond? No? I think that there are two options. I think I put it in this. Okay, here. Just same, okay? Same idea, but this is for the callable bond too. The first way that we can do is we just random, okay? Just random the number because each bond has the number, the serial number, so they can use the computer to random the number to buy back the bond. That is the first way that we can do for seeking fund requirement that they have to buy back the bond. The second way that we can do is they just use the pro rata basis. What does it mean? Suppose that the issuer have to buy back 10% of the total bond outstanding. So if one investor hold 100 units, so 10% of the 100 units will be buyback. For everyone will be applied the same 10%. Okay. For investor B, they hold 1,000, so 10% of 1,000 will be buyback like this. This is the second way, pro rata basis. The first way just random. Okay. All right. Now we talk about the embedded option. For the flexible time program student, because you haven't taken the derivative course, right? So let me just explain a bit more. Actually, this kind of bond is the combination between the fixed income or the debt security plus the derivative like security. Okay? Just put one statement in this bond is incur the derivative feature in this bond. Okay, so the two common statement that may be put in the bond indenture is the call and the put option. For the call, we have seen quite often now that CP all, okay, also put the callable option, in the bond too. IVL or some other bond also put the call option too. Okay, what is a call option in the bond? Okay, this is called, sometimes we call provision. Okay, the call provision, basically this statement in the bond indenture provide the right to the bond issuer to buy back the bond at some certain period, at some certain price too. The bond price fixed at some certain price. What is the price that will be buy will be specific at the time the bond issue. Okay, so when you invest in a bond, you have to read in detail about this, whether there is a call or not, and what is when the bond might be called, and what is the call price, or the price that you will be paid by the bond issuer. Okay, this is a callable bond or the bond with the call option. For the puttable bond, provide the right to the bond holder, not the bond issuer. Okay, for the callable bond, provide the right for the bond issuer to buy back the bond before the maturity. Why they want to do that, we'll talk about this later. Puttable bond, okay, provide the right to the bond holder to sell back the bond before the maturity. As the right, so this is not compulsory, okay? It's up to the investor whether they want to sell back or not. For the call provision, also the same. It's up to the bond issuer whether they want to call back the bond or not. So for some certain condition, they may do or may not do. Okay? Let's talk about the call provision first. In one bond, there might be so many features that make the pricing very complicated. So we'll talk about this in the next week. Okay, call provision, as I mentioned, this is the statement provide the right for the bond issuer to buy back the bond for some certain period. Normally, okay, for the first period after the issue, they may not allow to do this. Okay. For example, for the first 2 period, okay, issuer cannot buy back the bond or cannot call the bond. However, after year 2, okay, then the issuer can buy back the bond. Okay, so why the bond issuer want to buy back the bond? Very simple. Suppose this bond, at the time they issue this bond, the market interest is high, okay, they have to pay the coupon rate at some certain period and it's quite high. 1 or 2 years later, the market interest rate decrease. Why? The bond issuer have to pay at this rate until maturity. If they have this right, so, okay, just refinance, basically just issue the new bond that reflect the new market interest rate, which is lower, right? And then, get the new money from the new bond, pay back the old bond, lower the financing, cost of financing, right? Lower the borrowing rate. So you can see that right now, so many issuers put this in the bond indenture, okay? Just like CPO, they just call back the bond in a few months ago. Yeah, because they can issue the new one that even provide lower coupon rate. So, as a bondholder, as an investor, when you read the bond indenture, you know that okay, there is the call provision. Comparing between 2 bonds, one without call provision, one with the call provision, of course, right? That the coupon rate should not be the same. Otherwise, we should not buy, right? You understand what I mean, right? Comparing between 2 bonds, everything just the same except that one with the call provision, the other no call provision. Which one should have a high coupon rate? With call provision, right? Because as a bondholder, you know that the bond will be called back when the market interest rate decrease. So you get paid. Actually, you don't want to get paid, right, at that time, right? Because after you get the payment, you have to reinvest in a new bond at a lower coupon rate. So you face with the reinvestment rate risk. Get the money, invest again at a lower rate. So this is a reinvestment rate risk. Yeah. As I mentioned, normally either to compensate with the reinvestment rate risk or to compensate with the opportunity cost for the investor that you have to reinvest at a lower rate. So normally, okay, when the issuer buy back the bond or call the bond, they will pay you at some certain price that is higher than the par value slightly. Okay, this is called call price or redemption price. For example, if the par is 1,000, they may give you a little bit more, like maybe 0.2% from the par, something like this, one time at all. However, this is also depend on the time that they call back the bond too. If they call early, so opportunity cost is higher, so you pay you more. If they call you back, quite, close to the maturity, then the compensation or the call price is very close to the par. Okay, so the call price change over time too. Okay, normally. And I already mentioned about this for the callable bond. Okay, when they call back the bond, they can call back the whole amount or they can partially call. So in case that they just partially call, then they can do by using the first or the second option, as I mentioned. Oh, when the issuer call back the bond, we technically, okay, this is a technical term, we call the issuer exercise the right, exercise the option, the call option, okay? When the issuer, want to call back the bond, in this case we call, technically we call exercise, the issuer exercise the option, call option, okay? Normally there are three types of the exercise option here, okay? So for the American call option, it means that issuer can call back the bond anytime, anytime after some certain period. Okay, normally as I mentioned, right, for the first 1 or 2 years after the issuance, normally firm will not call back the bond. However, after that period, after we pass that period, okay, issuer may exercise the call option. Depends on type of the exercise. So it can be depend on the type of the call. Okay, it can be American call, European call, or the Bermuda style option too. American call, it means that the issuer can call back the bond anytime, anytime. Okay, for a European, it means that we can call back the bond only at the call date. Okay, and only the call date. Once, only the call date. For the Bermudan style, is in between American and European. Okay, more than once, but not anytime. Okay. So normally, in practice, this one is maybe quite common, the Bermudan style option. Okay. They will set the date that the issuer can call back the bond. Puttable bond, in one bond there might be both call and put as well. However, if we talk about the puttable bond, it means that this bond provides the right for the bondholder to sell back the bond before the maturity date. Okay, the reason would be the opposite of the call option, right? Why the investor, the bondholder, want to sell back the bond? Okay, the reason really simple, right? If they have the opportunity to reinvest in a new bond that provide a higher return, a higher coupon rate, and don't forget that they can sell back the bond at some certain price, not market price. That is the benefit of having this put option. Because otherwise it would be conflict with the idea that we have talked before, right? Market interest rate increase, bond price should decrease, but this bond price would not decrease as the market price, as a market interest rate. Bondholder can sell back the bond at some certain price. Normally it would set at par. Okay, so basically market interest rate increase, bond price for this one with the put option does not increase. Okay, because there is the put option. There is the selling price or exercise price. Okay, so the bondholder don't have any loss from selling this bond back to the bond issuer. They get a par, okay, then they can buy the new bond at a higher coupon rate. Okay. So comparing between bond with and without put option, because this is the benefit belong to the bondholder. Okay, this benefit, the option, the put option is benefit for the bondholder. So comparing between bond with and without put option, bond with the put option should get lower coupon rate, or we can say that the price should be higher. Okay. And the exercise style can be American, European, or Bermudan style, like the callable bond. Oh. Convertible bond, oh, this one also quite interesting too. In 1997, at that time, when the stock market is quite high at that time in Thailand too. Okay, before the crash in July to 1997. Okay, 1993, 94, 95. Okay, index at that time actually is quite close to at the moment about 1700, 1700. Okay, so some company try to make things a bit fancy by issue the bond with some feature like convertible bond to make the bond more interesting, more attractive. Okay, that's why sometimes we call by putting this kind of thing like the sweetener. Okay, put more this thing to make the bond more interesting, more attractive. Okay, let me just talk for the first one. The first, okay, convertible bond basically is a combination between plain vanilla bond plus the call option again. However, this call option different from the previous call option in the callable bond. In the callable bond is the option for the issuer to buy back the bond. But this call option is the call option for the bondholder to buy the stock of the issuer firm, the issuer this bond. Okay, can you follow? Basically, bond plus the option, the call option. Okay, for anyone who's quite familiar with the warrant, basically this is similar to warrant, but we don't need to pay anything. Basically, we just convert. Okay, as a bondholder, one day you see that okay, the stock of this company, of the issuer, is going to increase and increase, and you find that this is a good opportunity to convert from, as a bondholder to be the shareholder. So eventually you convert, okay, from the bondholder to be the shareholder. So that will be set, how to convert for one bond, how many shares you're gonna get from, convert from bond to share. Right, so this is a convertible bond. Combination between bond, plain vanilla bond, and a call option. This call option is option for the bondholder, not the same as the previous callable bond. That is also the combination of bond and the call option, but that call option is call option for the issuer, and different, in terms of the derivative, we call that the underlying asset also different. For this one, they can call or buy the stock at some certain price by convert, okay, convert the bond to the stock. But for the callable bond, the underlying asset is the bond, still the bond. Issuer can buy back the bond at some certain price. So different. Don't worry, we talk about this later. Okay, this is just give you some introduction. Warrants, okay, some bond, instead of just selling the bond, they just add something more. Like, okay, you buy bond, I give you one warrant, something like this. Okay, as you know, warrant is the kind of the call option to give anyone who have the warrant can buy the stock of the issuer at some certain price. Right? So this is quite different from the first one. The first one you convert from bond to the stock, so you don't have bond anymore. As an investor, you used to hold a bond, so eventually you get the stock, and you cannot convert back to be the bond. No. But for this one, different. You have bond plus warrant. If you exercise warrant, buy the stock, bond still there, right? You still have bond because it's two security done, embedded into one security like convertible bond. Oh, the last one really interesting. I really, quite amazed with, how the trader design this kind of the security. It's called, in short, COCO. Okay, COCO stands for Contingent Convertible Bond. Combine quite a few features in this bond. Okay. Some of you who work in the banking industry, you may know that in the past, okay, even in Thailand, Thai bank faced with some problem during the financial crisis in 1997, 1998 because of the bank capital decrease, okay, to some certain level. This is also occur in the European crisis too. You may have heard about the European crisis in the banking industry. Okay, when there is the crisis, it means that there are a lot of the NPL, non-performing loan, bad debt, right? When they have, a significant amount of the bad debt, eventually that would affect the bank capital. Basically, bank capital, you can view bank capital as an equity part. However, there is some other part too, but equity is the main part of the capital. Okay. In order to measure the worthiness, the credit worthiness, okay, or the health of the bank, basically we will look at the Tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital is the ratio, okay, between capital. This is, you can view this as the equity, okay, equity, okay, shareholder equity, divided by risk weight asset. Okay, by the regulation, normally in Thailand we set at 4.25%. For the BIS standard, okay, banking, I remember the full, Bank for International Settlement, okay, for the BIS standard is set at 4%, Tier 1 capital ratio. Let me just explain a bit more about the risk weight asset. As you know, as a bank, the business of the bank is borrow the money by, ask household to deposit the money. Then this money would be lent to the corporation. So if two banks, okay, one just lend the money to the government, the other bank just lend the money to the SME, with the same amount of the lending, of course, right, that the bank that lend the money to the SME is more risky because SME may not be able to pay back the loan. However, another bank that you just lend the money to the government, they have very low risk. That would be effect on the risk weight asset. Basically, the amount of the lending here will not be count if you just lend the money to very safe, borrower. Will not be count and will not be included in the denominator here. However, another bank that just lend the money to the borrower that very risky, that would be, the weight that multiply with the amount that you lend. So the higher the risk, the weight will be very high. So that will be included in the denominator here. Okay, so eventually, if the risk weight asset is really large because of the risk of the lending, eventually you have to increase the capital in order to have this ratio greater than 4.25 in Thailand. But in other countries, must be greater than 4 for the Tier 1. Okay. Now, how this evolved? As I mentioned before, when there is the European crisis, so a lot of bad debt, eventually, capital decrease because of you have to reserve, okay, the capital because of the bad debt. That will be reduced. The capital also reduced. Equity reduced because you have a lot of the loss, right? This also reduced. Also, this also may increase too. Eventually, the Tier 1 capital may be lower than the cutoff, the critical point 4.25. So, the COCO will come in. The COCO is actually just a bond, Okay. However, there is a statement indicate that when the tier 1 capital lower than the minimum requirement at 4% or 4.25%, this bond will be automatically, okay, you as a bondholder, you don't have any choice. You will become the shareholder at a very risky firm, because as you know that normally this will increase. This will be occur during this bank is in the bad situation, right? Otherwise, the tier 1 capital should not be lower than 4.25 or lower than 4%. Okay, so basically, if you buy this bond, and normally this bond issued by the bank, okay, issued by the bank, and this bank, stock price of this bond decrease, that will affect the capital too. And eventually, capital lower than this, so this COCO or this bond will convert into stock in order to increase this numerator, in order to make sure that, okay, eventually this would help to increase the tier 1 capital higher than 4.25% or higher than 4%. Okay? This is just provide some basic idea how we can measure the credit risk of the issuer. Okay, how do we know that this bond has a high or low risk, whether they can pay back the interest or pay back the principal? One indicator that we can look at, okay, to measure the default risk or the credit risk is the credit rating. Okay, it's the credit rating. Here is the rating classification from 4 credit rating agencies. Okay, Fitch, you have to make sure that this is Fitch, local Fitch Thailand and Fitch UK. These two entities different. Okay, Fitch Thailand actually is Thai company. The major shareholder not Fitch UK at all. Actually, it's Thai. I can't remember it's Stock Exchange of Thailand or some organization, are the major shareholder of the Fitch Thailand. Fitch UK is the international rating agency. S&P, Moody's also US, okay, rating agency is a very well-known rating agency too. Trish also local one. Anyway, for the first 3 rating agencies use quite the same rating classification. The last one, Moody's, is a bit different. Okay, what you need to know is the cutoff that make the bond into investment grade and the junk bond. Okay, normally bond with the rating below BBB minus would be junk bond, okay, or speculative bond. Bond above BBB minus is investment bond. Okay, this is default, and as I mentioned here, the small a actually is equal to the first letter. Okay, this is basically a BBB. 1 is equal to plus, and 2 is equal to neutral, and 3 is the negative. Okay. This is for the short-term one. Okay, normally you may have heard about this issue, right? That when there is a case of the default of the BE for the EFORL, and someone just commented, why don't BE should have the rating, right? This is sometimes this is not compulsory, but the case of EFORL that also make some comment that okay, that whether the short-term bond should have the rating too, but because of its short term, so sometimes quite a few that they will have the rating. This is a rating for different rating agency. Okay. As I make the shading here, okay, this is quite okay. Lower than this, not okay. Okay. Fixed income market. This is just provide some, big picture of the fixed income. Issuer, I already mentioned about this. One thing that you may need to know is, when we talk about the financial market, stock market is not the biggest market in the world. However, actually, the foreign exchange market is the number one. Fixed income is actually maybe number two. You can look at the size of the issue here. Okay, stock market, amount 54, only 26%. Compared to the government bond plus the financial company plus non-financial, all of these are fixed income, right? Or the debt, you can see that this is the large source of the fund for the business, right? Only bank loan, this is 73 compared to stock market, 26, but still have the, non-financial company, this kind of thing, okay? It's bigger than the stock market. But number one still foreign exchange because the size is very large. However, the profit maybe not much per size of the trading. For example, Bangkok Bank when they trade the foreign exchange, the minimum is this is interbank trading. 1 million US dollar is just a basic non-standard amount that we trade. Here just provide some number, okay, from different countries. And here also for Thai market too, okay. The size of the fixed income market slightly increased by over time. I still haven't got the new update. This is just 2013. GB government bond, okay, GB government bond, BOT Bank of Thailand, state-owned enterprise, corporate bond, and the last one, this is foreign bond issued by other country. However, they registered in Thai market. Primary, secondary, I already mentioned about this, okay. Normally, not only stock, for the bond also the same. If the distribution is, if the issuer use the public offering, so because of the investor can be, uninformed trader or can be uneducated investor. So for the PO, issuer must provide enough information for the investor. However, for the private placement, most of the investors, they are the institutional investor or high net worth investor. So in this case, SEC as a regulator may require less information from the issuer. Okay. As I mentioned, normally for the bond, unlike the stock, normally for bond trading, it will occur in the OTC market. For the exchange market, so Exchange of Thailand try to promote this. You can see, right? That will be the code on the TV, right? You see that there is almost zero trading for the BEX bond exchange under the Stock Exchange of Thailand because retail investor doesn't like something that very boring, because for each day bond price may change very little, unlike the stock, maybe a bit more exciting. That's why bond market is not suitable or does not receive the attention from the retail investor. So OTC still the main channel for or the platform for the bond trading. Okay. Here just provide some the guideline how to issue the bond, okay, or trade the bond for the primary market and for the secondary market. This provides some timeline, okay. You see that normally for the PP may take a bit longer. Oh, sorry, for the PO, public offering may take a bit longer, but for the PP, quite shorter. So the size, if the size of the issue is not very large, so issuer may just choose the PP because it's the easier and shorter time. Okay. But if the size of the issue is quite large, so they need the public offering. Okay. That's all for today. I'll see you again on Saturday afternoon, right, and also Sunday morning. Okay? And then next year, the first week of the January, we have the